Okay, good morning, all. Uh, Yesterday we have started with the introduction to engineering mechanics, right? So, can anyone tell me what is mechanics? Study of what? You can put it in the chat box also, I don't mind. But if you unmute and answer, I'll be very happy. What is mechanics? Study of what we are studying? The body is at? Quickly.
Rest or motion.
Yes. The study of the object which is at rest or in motion. The study related to this will be in coming under mechanics. So what is the word I use for bodies at rest?
Static, ma'am.
Yes, correct. Static. And what we use for bodies in motion?
Dynamic.
Dynamic.
Dynamics.
Dynamic.
Right. Right. So we will be studying about the bodies which are at rest or in motion, that is static or dynamics. With this, then we started with some basic idealizations. Okay. What does basic idealization mean in simple language? I'm not asking which for. What is the meaning of this? It is a theorem, it is an axiom, or what? Why it is necessary? Quickly.
Assumptions, ma'am.
Yes. They are the assumptions that are made to solve the problems of mechanics. Without starting with the assumption, we will not get to the solution, right? So these are some of the assumptions that are going to be made when we are trying to solve the problems of mechanics, right? So what are the basic idealization? First one,
Particle.
particle, right? So in one statement, if I want to define particle, how will I define it? It is something which has got mass but no size,
Size.
right? Yeah. So particle is something which has got mass and no size. It does not mean it is very small. It is related, or it is with respect to the surrounding area. So that's why when we were talking of the examples for particles, we had the example like Earth in a solar system. Individually, Earth is very big, but it is a particle, or it acts as a particle when I compare the entire galaxy or the entire solar system. Another example related to that was the ship in the sea, right? That is about the particle. What is the second idealization?
Continuum.
Continuum.
Continuum. Who can tell me what is continuum? Nuum.
Distribution of matter.
Distribution of matter. Yes. Continuous distribution of matter. Any object which is later subdivided into smaller parts, molecules, atom, neutrons, etc., we assume that it is a continuous distribution of matter when we are trying to solve the problems related to mechanics. Okay. What is the third one?
Rigid
Rigid
body.
body.
Rigid body. What does rigid body? How do you define rigid body? Anybody can try? I had given an example of body. We have 2 points A and B. After the application of force, what happens to point A and B, A dash, B dash? There will be same
No
distance. That is
change.
no change. The distance between AB will be equal to the distance between A dash, B dash, meaning under the application of force also, if the relative distance between 2 points is going to remain same, right? Then the body is termed as rigid body. That is, there is going to be no deformation in the body, right? Lastly, what was the last one?
Point force.
Point force.
Yes, point force. So point force means the force which is acting at a point, right? Acting at a point. So it need not be, in reality, acting at a point cannot be considered, because example I gave was a person standing on a ladder. There will be a area of contact. His 2 feet are going to act as a area of contact. But looking at the other surrounding dimensions, there it is very small and negligible. So hence I can consider that it is acting at a single point, right? So these are the four basic idealizations. Very important theory question. Many a times it has been asked in the VTU question paper, right? If you've understood this much, you will be able to write in your words, no issues. After this, what we had taken, we were discussing about Newton's laws, I think, right? So Newton's laws. First law, says that every body remains in a state of rest or of uniform motion until an external force acts on it. Right? So we had taken a simple example of a person going to library and a canteen. A person comes. If a person wants to go to he says he wants to go to the library. So he is walking towards the library. So a person is in state of rest or in motion until an external force comes and acts. That is, till the person B comes and asks him to go out with him to the canteen. Second one, what was the second law? The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, meaning the motion takes place in the direction of the force. If I have a body like this and I'm applying the force like this, he says the direction, the movement will be in the direction of the force. So this box is going to move down, not like this, right? So example was the same continuation of the example. If the boy says, person A says, I will go to the canteen. He changes his plan that no, from library he jumps to going to a canteen. Then that becomes your second law, that is the body is moving in the direction of the applied force. Technical statement is rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. Third law I had not discussed, but all of you are aware of the third law, that is for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. With respect to that, I want to tell you one concept. Say there is a ball placed over a floor. Okay, we show it like this, right? So there is a ball placed over the floor. The ball will have some weight, right? That weight is W. The ball is going to have some initial weight and that weight is going to be W. Now, why the weight is acting down? The weight is acting down because of the gravity, right? Because of the gravitational force, the weight is going to be acting down. Now, this is the point of contact, correct? So, then there is a body and there is a weight coming into picture. This weight acts as an action. The weight which is coming down is the action of that ball, action of the body, right? This is the point of contact. So at this point of contact of this body to the ground or wherever, if it is with respect to something else, there is a point of contact, then it is at that point. Here, it is touching the ground. At this point of contact, there will be an reaction that is going to be developed, R. Okay, there is going to be an reaction developed, which is same value as that of W. That is, its value magnitude is same as that of W, but the direction is opposite. Now W is acting down, reaction is acting up. Okay, so this is nothing but your Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction produced. So why this concept is required is we have numericals wherein we have a box kept over a box, or we have a box and there are two rollers present in the box, right? So every point of contact, if this is placed like this, every point of contact, this is a point of contact, this is a point of contact, right? Here, if I'm talking of this figure, which are the points of contact? This is a point of contact, this one, this one, this one. So everywhere, wherever there is a point of contact, there is going to be a reaction that is going to be developed and which is always going to be perpendicular to the surface. Now, this is the surface, perpendicular means at 90 degrees. So for this surface at 90 degrees, the reaction is developed. Here also the reaction will be developed at 90 degrees. Between these two also there will be reaction developed. So wherever there is a point of contact, there will be a reaction developed, and this entire concept is based on the Newton's third law. That is, for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. So the value, if say the weight of the ball is 10 kg, okay, 10 kg coming downward. The reaction's value also is 10 kg, but it is going upward. And where it is acting at this point. They both are acting at the same point, right? So this is Newton's third law, and this concept of drawing the reactions at the point of contacts, we will be making use of all these when we are doing numericals related to mechanics. And it is very important. Your module 3 and module 4 is entirely dependent on this. Sorry, module 2 and module 3 is entirely dependent on this. Right? So drawing the reaction or drawing the free body diagram becomes important. So this entire thing is based on your Newton's third law. That is, for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. Right? So this was about the Newton's laws. Newton's gravity law also is there, but it's okay. It is not there for our syllabus. I mean, we are not using that anywhere for the numericals. So we will skip that. Right? Next. There is something called as characteristics of force or elements of a force. Both are same. Okay. So it is elements of a force, or also it is called as characteristics of force. Why I write both is, sometime happened so that I wrote while teaching in the class, I gave it as elements of a force. And in the question paper, we asked us what are the characteristics of forces. Both are one and the same. My beautiful kids didn't write this characteristics of a force. When I asked them why, they said you had taught us elements of a force, not characteristics of a force. Right? That's why English becomes very important in this phase. For you to connect or understand or comprehend is very important. There's one more theorem which comes in third module, Varignon's theorem. The name is Varignon's theorem, but it is a theorem of moments, something like that. So in one of the final question paper of VTU, they asked to state and prove the theorem of moments. Again, my children came out like that only, not only all the students of mechanics. On asking why, they said, you never taught us the theorem of moments. Theorem of moment was Varignon's theorem. What was missing over there? Okay, agree to some extent that we could have also told, but we don't know how a person is going to set the question paper, right? So we will be under an impression that you will know the basics like this. So these both mean the same. Characteristics elements are going to be meaning the same. So comprehending the question, sometimes if you are not read the question, okay, if you do not understand the meaning of that question, it will be there somewhere. It is related to something. Only words must have been different. So directly don't jump on a conclusion that our staff has not taught us, or don't go to leave the question. It will be same only. Example, what is clockwise? Clockwise direction means what? Something like this. All of you are aware of this? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
This is clockwise. Why it is called clockwise? Because it goes like how you have your clock. This is 12, this is 3, this is 6, and this is 9. So clock moves like this. So you have a clockwise. What is opposite to this?
Anti-clockwise.
Yes. Anti-clockwise is the opposite to this. Do you know one more name for anti-clockwise? It is called as counterclockwise. I'm taking this example also because this is in mechanics. We take moments and couples and all are coming, where we take numericals related to clockwise. Now, this didn't happen in the external examination. This happened in the internal examination. We gave the moment value and we said it is counterclockwise direction. Counterclockwise is your anti-clockwise. Again, our students came out like that only, saying, no, you didn't tell us what is counterclockwise. Right? So comprehend, please read. If you're not from English, I don't say here you have to be from English medium. No, you all have finished your PUC in English medium now. You all are into technical education. So please, if you feel your English is a little low, then try to read something. And please get the synonyms, very important. This is not technical education. This counterclockwise or elements and characteristics, this is not engineering. This is basics of English. So see that you please keep this in mind for all the branches. Okay, this is applicable. When I'm talking, it doesn't only depend to civil students. This is applicable to all the branches because mechanics is used in all the branches. I cannot claim it is only civil engineering. Okay, coming back to your elements of a force or characteristics of a force. There are 4 characteristics, and to explain those 4 characteristics, I will be making use of a figure like this. This is the floor. This is the wall. There is a ladder placed like this. Okay. And on this ladder, there is a person of 700 newtons standing. Okay. Take a simple example. That is on the ladder, there is a person of 700 newtons standing. Now this is the floor. So what I do, I'll name this point as A, this point as B. A is what? The point of contact of the ladder to the floor. Point B is the point of contact of the ladder to the wall. Okay. This point where this person is standing, let us call it is point C. Okay. Now, this point C is at 2 meters from B and is at 3 meters from A. I'm giving the dimension. Okay, the diagram is clear. Diagram is nothing. Think I am only standing on a ladder. My weight is, it is in newtons. Okay, I am not this heavy. It is newtons, not kgs. So 700 Newton weight standing at a point, and that point is called as C. It is 2 meters from point B and 3 meters from point A. This is the case. Now, when I'm writing the elements of the characteristics, there are 4. That is magnitude. Okay, first one is called the magnitude of force. Magnitude of force. Second one is point of application. Okay. Third one is the line of action. And the fourth one is the direction. Okay, these 4 are the called as the elements of the force. Now, what are these 4? These 4 you have to like match the following with the diagram now. Magnitude of the force means the amount of force that is be acting in your figure. Now, what is the amount of force that is acting according to this figure?
700 Newton.
700 newtons. So, magnitude of force means the quantity of force or the amount of force that is acting on a body or in the particular example. So, when the moment I say there is a force, there will be a magnitude of force. Okay, or the question would be find the magnitude of force, where P is unknown. We call usually force as P. P if unknown, then we have to find the magnitude of the force. So magnitude of force means the quantity of force, the amount of force that is acting. Now, second comes the point of application. What is, according to English, what do you understand by point of application term?
Where force is acting.
Exactly. So where force is acting in our diagram?
C.
Point C. Yes, correct. So point of application is point C. So we will write it in a better way that point of application is point C. I can give little more details of point C. What details can I give from the figure? Point C, which is at 2 meters from B or at 3 meters from A. Okay, so point of application means, as the English goes, the point where the force is acting. That is point C. So in this diagram, it is point C, which is at 2 meters from point B or 3 meters from A. I'm trying to give the location of the point. That's it. It is important. Whenever I'm talking of a point, when we say coordinate systems, it is very important we give the proper location of the point. So this is how we give the proper location of the point. Third comes the line of action. Line of action means this force, now whether it is acting vertical or whether it is acting horizontal or whether it is acting at some angle. There can be only 3 cases. One, the force is acting vertically down or vertically up. Both will fall under what? Vertical. Correct. Another is horizontal. Horizontally it is going towards the right. Horizontally it is going towards the left. Both are falling under horizontal. Third is it is acting at some angle. Sometimes we'll have force acting like this, theta. So with respect to either x-axis or y-axis, it could be with x-axis or he could give you a value with respect to y-axis. So only these 3 are possible. Okay. So line of action means I have to tell whether it is horizontal or vertical or with some angle. So in our present case, what is the line of action?
Vertical.
Vertical.
Yes, vertical. The line of action of the force here is it is acting vertical. Okay. Direction. Direction simple again, as the English goes. It is acting up or down. So this force is acting where?
Down.
Downwards. So direction is it is acting downwards. So this is your elements of a force or characteristics of a force. You are required to write these 4 and explain. So when I say explain, if I don't use a example, we can still explain, okay? Without using the examples also, we can still explain. That is, first one is a magnitude of force. Magnitude of the force means it is the amount of force or the quantity of force that is acting on the body. Second one is your point of application. Point of application means it is the point at which the force is acting. That is point of application. Third one is line of action. Line of action means it tells me whether the force is acting vertical or horizontal or at some angle. So that is your line of action. Fourth one is the direction. That is, it tells us about the direction, whether it is acting downward or upward. So you can write it like this also, or always better, we suggest you use a ladder example only. You put the heading, draw the ladder example, give any amount of force you want. It need not be the same. Show the points A, B, C. And then once you write these four lines may explain the diagram. So from the figure 700, magnitude of the force is 700, that is the amount of force. From the figure, point of application is point C, which is at 2 meters from B or 3 meters from point A. Okay. From the figure, line of action is vertical and the direction is, the force is acting downwards. So direction is going to be downwards. Okay. Any doubts with this?
No, ma'am.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
So you should be able to write this. This is also a favorite question of all the examiners, whether it is internal or whether it is external. Okay, so this is also one of the favorite questions of all of us, wherein maximum times we try to ask this question. Clear? So after this, we will be talking of the system of forces. Okay, so before going to system of forces, I want you to define a force first. If I want you to define a force, what is a force? How you define a force? Yes, how are you going to define a force?
Interaction with the object to change the motion.
Interaction of the object to change the motion, yes, correct. I partly buy it, means it is correct only. Technically also it is correct. In more simple ways, if anybody wants to tell. No?
Mass into acceleration.
Very nice. Mass into acceleration, okay. If I ask you now what is mass and what is acceleration, you should tell Baba. Define mass and acceleration. Who said that answer? It is correct. This is from Newton's third law, second law only. But now I'm going to ask you what is mass and what is acceleration. So don't ever, even in your Viva examinations, if you do not know we know what is mass and acceleration, but we won't be able to put it up very early, right? So do not use such terminologies only. Best. Give simple examples or simple statements or statements which you know. If further asked to comprehend or explain, you should be able to be explained. Simple words, if I want to tell what is a force, it can be defined as the action of one body on the other. In action and reaction, we will talk now going forward always. Okay, it is the action of one body on the other, which may be exerted either by the contact or certain distances. If the body can be together or they can be at different places, it is the action of one body over the other. Or force is also defined as it is an external agency which acts on the body, if you remember. Okay, so that is force. Why I wanted the definition of forces, because then with respect to that I want to discuss what is system of force. So can you tell me what is system of force? Yes. Can anyone tell me what is a system of force? What terms is single force we defined. System of forces means many forces coming together. Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So system of forces means when there are many number of forces. Okay, when there are many number of forces which are coming together, they form a system of force, right? Okay. I took in between I took 5-10 seconds break because I had to circulate a question paper. There are internals going on for the fourth semesters. I had to put a question paper on the group. That's why I was not active here, but I was talking though. Okay, many forces acting together form a system of forces. They constitute a system of forces. That is all the forces. Now, you must have heard these terminologies. I want you to tell me if you've heard or not. If not, I will explain. If you've heard also, I'll explain. Coplanar. Have you heard? Coplanar. Yes, no. If yes and if you don't know also is fine. Say yes, we don't know. Yes, coplanar. Okay. So can anyone define what is coplanar?
In the same plane.
In the same plane. Okay, correct. Right? So coplanar, then I have non-coplanar. Can anyone tell me what is concurrent? You have heard concurrent? Concurrent? Okay, never mind. Okay, so we will be studying here system of forces. Also, the question can be types of forces. Huh? Again, madam didn't teach us types of forces. She taught us system of forces. No, types of forces and system of forces means the same. Different types of forces will be studying over here in the system of forces. To start with, I will first start with collinear forces. Have you heard of this? Okay, no worries. In collinear forces, the line of action of the forces act along the same line, meaning I have a F1 and in the same line I have a F2. So line of force of this of F1 is what? Horizontal. The line of force of F2 also is horizontal and they are in the same line. This is a collinear force. Or from this point, if F1 is going here and if F2 is going like this is a collinear force. That is, the lines of action are in the same line. Okay, so first type of force is collinear force where the line of action. So line of action becomes important here again when we are talking. So when say I have a box and I have a force placed over here, okay, and it is acting at say 60 degrees. Line of action means if I am going to extend that force line and maintain that 60 degree, wherever I draw a horizontal, this would be 60, this would be 60. This is the line of action of the force. Okay, this is also a meaning of line of action. Apart from your horizontal and vertical, what we studied in the characteristics of force or elements of a force, we studied it as horizontal and vertical. No, apart from that, also line of action means if I am going to draw or if I want to get the line of action, I will draw the extended line from this force line, maintaining the same angle. Then this is called as line of action. Again, very important when we are dealing with the free body diagrams or numericals. Okay, so that is what is line of action. First one, when we are talking of collinear, if the line of actions are same, either forces are going opposite direction or forces are going in the same direction, that becomes the collinear force. The best example for this, especially the second type of force, is your tug of war example. Tug of war is a game. The rope, remember, there is a rope and they tie a thread or something to the rope. There are 5 people here and there are 5 people here pulling the rope like this. It is in tension. So if it comes this side, then this team wins. If it comes this side, this team is going to win. Tug of war. So forces are in same line there along the rope. No, so forces are acting in the same line. That is the example for your collinear force. The first type of force is collinear force. Then comes your coplanar forces. So as one of your friend already said, the forces that are acting in same plane. So what is same plane? For example, now take this. This is whiteboard. Okay. So whiteboard is got, say if I draw the miniature of whiteboard, the whiteboard is like this now, right? It has got some thickness like this. It is this distance is very small compared to this length and breadth, right? So this is going to be your breadth of width or breadth, or this is the length, whichever is the highest, and this is the thickness, which is very small. If I keep the sketch pens like this, these pens are placed in the plane of the whiteboard. Agree? They are in the plane of the whiteboard and they become coplanar because the dimension of a sketch pen is very small compared to the length and width of the whiteboard. But if I place the sketch pen like this at some distance from the whiteboard, now they are not coplanar because they are out of the plane. They are at some height, no now. So they are out of the plane. So these are not coplanar forces now. They're not acting in the same plane. So they will be called as non-coplanar. But coplanar are something which are acting in the same plane. So simple examples when you usually see in the textbooks is if you draw X, Y, Z axis. Okay, take any corner of the room where you're sitting. Any corner of the room. So horizontal from that becomes your the roof, sorry, not roof, your floor and wall line touching intersection becomes your x-axis, okay, and vertical of your that from that particular corner to the wall, two walls meeting become your y-axis. And the other, that is another, the 90-degree to that becomes your z-axis. So in any force that is acting on the wall becomes your coplanar forces, like this. So xy plane, or it could be yz plane, okay, or it could be xz plane. So when they are acting in the same plane, it is called as coplanar forces. Definition is all the forces are going to be parallel or they are going to be in the same plane. Okay. So in coplanar only, I can have coplanar like forces. Okay, like forces or like parallel forces. What are these? Like forces means they will have the same magnitude. Parallel means they are going to be parallel to each other. Okay. So this comes under coplanar forces. Okay. Then comes one more, this is A part, B part, coplanar concurrent. Can anyone tell me what is concurrent? Do you know the meaning of concurrent? Yes, no, only that much. No,
Meeting at a point.
Meeting at a point, correct. Meeting at a point. So you must have studied something like when they are coming together like this, or they are going out like this. From a point, the force, I am drawing the arrows outward, okay, and if I call them as forces F1, F2, F3, and or there is a point and F1, F2, F3 are coming to that particular point. These both are concurrent forces. In concurrent only, if they are coming together, it is convergent. If they are going away, they are divergent. Okay, these are divergents because there is divergence. They are going out. This is convergence. They are coming together. So this is convergent. But we are not interested in convergent and divergent. We are only interested in concurrent. These both are cases of concurrent because all these forces are passing through one point. See, this force F2's line of action is going like this, F3's line of action is going like this, F1's line of action. All three of them are meeting at this point. Similarly, F1's line of action is this, F3's line of action is this, F2's line of action. Again, all three are meeting at a point. If all the forces are passing through a single point, then they are called as concurrent. Okay, only concurrent. Coplanar concurrent means when I have them in a single plane, say XY plane, and here they are passing through a single point. F2, F3, F4. So concurrent set of forces which are there in a single plane are called as the coplanar concurrent. Somebody raised the hand. Prathamesh something. You have a doubt you raised or by mistake you raised? Okay, no answer.
By mistake, ma'am.
By mistake. Okay, not an issue. So stop fidgeting with your phones. This is coplanar concurrent. So coplanar concurrent means they are in the same plane and they are passing through a same point, right? Then comes when I can have coplanar concurrent, I can also have coplanar non-concurrent, right? So I'll just erase this. This was B, that is coplanar concurrent. So in coplanar C, I can have coplanar non-concurrent. Non-concurrent means what? They are not passing through a same point. If I ask you to draw that, how you will draw? One will be here, one will be here, one will be here, one will be here. They all are not passing through a single point. That's why they are non-concurrent. But they are acting in a single plane. That's why they are a coplanar. Okay. So coplanar concurrent, coplanar non-concurrent. Okay. Then comes non-coplanar forces. I'm just explaining all of them. Then I will write all 8 of them together. Okay. Then comes your fourth one, non-coplanar. What is non-coplanar forces? They are not acting in a single plane. So you have this X, Y, and Z axis. Non-coplanar means they are acting here, they are acting here, they are acting here. That is anywhere with related to this X, Y, Z axis. They are not in a single plane. That is non-coplanar. 3D object is non-coplanar. Okay, 2Ds fall under coplanar. 3Ds will fall under non-coplanar. So when you know the definition of non-coplanar now, with respect to non-coplanar, we can always write again non-coplanar concurrent forces. Non-coplanar concurrent means you have your x, y, z. They are concurrent. So one is like this, one is like this, one is like this, one is like this. They are non-coplanar in nature, but they are concurrent also in nature. So non-coplanar, concurrent. Then you can have a case where it is non-coplanar and non-concurrent. Okay, non-coplanar, non-concurrent. This is x, y, z. Okay, non-coplanar and non-concurrent. Anywhere they are acting like this. So they are not in a single plane. Also, they are not concurrent. Also, so this is non-coplanar, non-concurrent forces. Okay, so these are the simple definitions, and the diagrams of this are important. Apart from this, you can have parallel forces. Parallel forces. What are parallel forces? When forces are acting parallel to each other are called as parallel forces. In parallel, I can have like forces. Like forces means all of them are in the same direction. Like forces. Or unlike forces. Unlike, not in the same direction. Okay, like forces, unlike forces. So these are set of not characters, a system of forces or different types of forces. So when you're writing these forces, I want you to write it like this. Okay, so for each of it, usually this also question is very important. They'll ask it for 6 to 8 marks. If it is asked for 6 marks, you'll write their names, you'll draw the figure and finish it off. If they're asking for 8 marks in one line, you have to write what it means. First one is your collinear force. Okay, so they're acting like this, or they're acting in this manner, right? Collinear forces. Then comes your coplanar forces. So for coplanar, you will show XYZ axis and then acting in the same plane. Okay. Third one, you will write coplanar concurrent forces, which are concurrent in nature. So XYZ axis, concurrent means they are like this. Fourth one, you'll write coplanar non-concurrent forces. I'm lazy, I'm not writing everything. Okay. So coplanar non-concurrent means they're going to act here. Sorry. Coplanar, they should be in the same plane. So something like this. This is the 3D figure. They are in the same plane, but they are not going to be concurrent in nature. Coplanar, non-concurrent. Fifth type, you'll write non-coplanar. Okay. Non-coplanar. You can only first write non-coplanar forces. That is, they are not going to be in the same plane, anywhere acting elsewhere. Sixth one, you'll write non-coplanar concurrent forces. Okay. So they are not in the same plane, but they are concurrent to each other. Something like this. Okay. Then seventh, non-coplanar non-concurrent forces. Eighth one, you have your like parallel, and ninth, unlike parallel. Like parallel, like this. Unlike parallel, like this. Non-coplanar, non-concurrent. Non-concurrent anyways. So anywhere you will show the forces like this. So these 9 with such type of figures at the side. Only writing the names and drawing the figures will fetch you 6 marks. If it is for 8 marks, you have to write a line below. Coplanar forces, when the forces are acting in the same plane. Coplanar concurrent forces, when the forces are in the same plane and they are concurrent in nature, they are called as so and so. So this is also another important question, that is the different types of forces are system of forces. Okay. Any doubt with this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Next, I have 3 principles to be done. Theory principles, not they are not theorems as such. So there are 3 principles. First one I'll take. Principle of physical independence. Okay. First one says principle of physical independence. Now we'll just try to get some values from the statement. Okay. Principle to chodo, it's okay. Physical independence. Physical term indicates it is related to the physical body. Okay, so if I have 2 objects, it's physical body. That is what is physical. Independence. Independence tells us that it is something like independent in nature, right? So now this, if I want to write or try to connect it to mechanics, mechanics is all about forces. So I have to connect this meanings with the forces. So, principle of physical independence states that the action of a force on a body is not affected by the action of other force on the same body. I have a box and there are say two forces acting like this, F1 and F2, right? The action of a force on the body is not going to be affected by the action of the other force on the body, meaning they both are independent to each other. Okay, there is no relationship between the forces. The action of this is totally different, the action of this is totally different. They both are going to act independent. That is, the action of a force on the body is not affected by the action of the other force on the body. Okay, that is what is principle of physical independence. Only one line statement it is. You have, there is no diagram and all. You have to just write the statement. Okay, so it states that the action of a force on a body is not affected. It's not affected means what? It is independent. It is not affected, so you can also use the term there is independent. Okay, so it is not affected by the action of another force. Here we are still talking only of action. Action means these external forces. Okay, so it both are going to be independent of nature. That is what is principle of physical independence, right? Second one is principle of superposition. Okay, it is called as principle of superposition, right? Now it states that net effect of a system of forces on a body is same as the combined effect. Now how to explain this? I have a box. I will first apply 5 kilonewton. Okay, it is going to move by say 1 mm. Then next again I'll apply 5 kilonewton. Again it is going to move by 1 mm. Again, I will apply 5 kilonewton. Again, it is going to move by 1 mm. I'm talking of mm. It's movement, okay? So I'm just making you understand. So first time I added 5, there was some deformation or movement. Second I added, third I added. These are what individually I'm adding. So first time I added, I waited, then I added, I waited, then I added, I waited. The same thing, if directly I apply 15 kilonewtons, 5, 10, 15, I'll directly apply 15. यहाँ पे it is going to be 3 mm. Total deformation is going to be 3 mm. Yes or no? Do you agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct, no? Individually, when I add, I have individual movements. I can sum them up. Or directly, I will add direct 15. I know now this is total. So directly, when I add 15, it is going to move 3 mm. We know this logic. General logic it is. Right? This is only principle of superposition. That is, the net effect of a system of forces on a body is same as that of combined effect. This is what? Net effect. And this is a combined effect. Okay, so this is one of the definition of principle of superposition. That is, the net effect is going to be same as that of the combined effect. Okay, remember the words net and combined, and then write the other words to all together and make it as a statement. Right? So net effect of the forces on a body is going to be same as the combined effect. There are two definitions of principle of superposition, meaning both are different, but both mean principle of superposition only. Next definition is, say I have, there is this body and I'm applying 5 kilonewton over here. Sorry, there is 25 kilonewton and there is 25 kilonewton like this acting already. So this, if I again add 5 kilonewton this side and 5 kilonewton this side, is there going to be any change?
No, ma'am.
Or if 25 is confusing you, you have a say you have a cupboard to be moved or a box to be moved. Person A is applying 10 kilonewtons this side to move it. Person B is going to move, put 10 kilonewtons opposite direction to move it. Is the object going to move?
No, ma'am.
No. Why? Because this 10, simple language mein, how this 10 is going to get cancelled with this 10. Correct, no? The system is in what term you use? equilibrium. The body goes into equilibrium. Its effect is zero now because this 10 is getting nullified with this 10, right? So these two what are there, no? Now this 10 and this 10 which are of same magnitude but opposite direction, these are called as equilibrium forces. Okay, these are called as equilibrium forces because they are in equilibrium. They are same magnitude, opposite direction. It could be F and F, it could be 50-50, it could be 100-100. They are in different directions, so they cancel each other. Such forces are called as equilibrium forces. So according to principle of superposition also, addition or deduction of forces that are in equilibrium on a body will have no change on the body. So I have a body, say, which is stagnant or whether it is moving. If I add forces which are in equilibrium on it, there will be no effect of that because the forces are in equilibrium and they will not contribute towards the motion of the object. Simple this example, right? Because they are in equilibrium, they will not contribute towards the effect of this object, and hence addition or subtraction of forces that are in equilibrium in a system of force will have no change. That is also the definition of principle of superposition. So physical independence, action of each of the forces on a body is independent to each other. Principle of superposition, net effect is going to be equal to the combined effect. Remember this diagram or this example. Or addition of forces which are in equilibrium will have no effect or no change on the system of forces. Clear? All of you, I know it's time up, sorry. You all can put your attendance in the chat box. Yeah. And I'll meet you on Tuesday. Thank you. Shivanand Bargi.